All right, guys, look, it's been a brilliant season so far, but we've got the chance to make it even better. We're still unbeaten with a few games left in the league, but honestly, I don't care that much about that. Australian Cup, quadruple, and if we can make it to the final, we can deny the Phoenix of a cup. And that would be oh so good, guys. So come on, pick up these last few games. You've been great so far this season. Just keep going, and let's win a quadruple. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 37 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Sean Does FM with both the All Whites and with AFC Auckland. Coming up today, we're going to finish off the fourth season with the latter of those teams and hopefully complete our first quadruple here by beating the Wellington Phoenix, as you can see on screen. If we get past Adelaide United in the semi-finals, that is who we'll be taking on in the Australian Cup final to hopefully go alongside our APL League Cup as well as the A-League that we have picked up so far this season. So if you're looking forward to that as well as the end of season review, and hopefully we actually get a transfer budget despite the financial situation here at the club. And do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But yesterday actually played an international window with the All Whites. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Also, Alex Paulson came back to the club and we won the A-League before we got stuck in to that episode. It does mean that not much of note has happened off the back of that episode, considering that we'd already picked up the A-League title, albeit we are still on for an unbeaten season because we did get past Adelaide United 4-0 at home. That's quite a good result going in to the semi-final. Gives us a bit of confidence, a hat-trick there to Jorge Fernandez and also a goal to Max Caputo. Hopefully can put out a similar performance here, even though this one is over at Cooper's Stadium. And the other game that we did play in the A-League was against Adelaide City. This one actually a little bit closer, but did rotate our team with this game only being 4 days before the semi-final coming up against Adelaide United, but still picked up a 2-0 win. Goals there in the first half to Finn Linda and to Andre Lupu. So we are still on for an undefeated season here. Hopefully we can finish the job in our last two games of the A-League season against the Melbourne Victory and Sydney FC. So to be fair, those are quite tricky fixtures, but hopefully can do the job there, albeit that is not the priority. We just care about the quadruple, and to get that, we need to get past Adelaide United and then hopefully the Wellington Phoenix in a New Zealand derby. As you saw before, those guys absolutely thrashed Hearts of Melbourne, as you expect, in the other semi-final by a scoreline of 6-1. George McDonald, I believe, was absolutely rampant in that one. We'll just check the goal scorers. He picked up 2. Also, Alex Rufinuyen and Sloden Rodriguez. He picked up a double. So the Phoenix are through to an Australian Cup final. Hopefully, we can join them. And it'll be a battle in New Zealand for that cup. And hopefully, we can pick it back up after missing out because of the Western Sydney Wanderers last season. Just one injury concern, or tiredness concern, I should say, going into today's episode. Andre Lupu has been in decent form of late, back to full fitness for the first time really after we signed him, but is on a heavy workload. So just going to sit him now of this one. So it does mean Ben Wayne will start out right and Mikado up front, and also Cullen Elliott. He is suspended, but it just means that he won't make the bench. To be fair, only 5 players on the bench for these games anyway. So it does mean that it just makes our job there a little bit easier, but hopefully we can back up that win that we picked up against these guys in the league and make our way through to setting up a New Zealand derby in the Australian Cup final. And here are the team sheets for the semi-final. First up, Adelaide United. They come to this one in some slightly patchy form, lots of draws, not many wins or losses, but going with a 5-2-3, quite a popular formation here with these other A-League teams. As you saw before, we're going with our usual 4-2-3-1, the Wayne Tran out right, with Lupu being on a heavy workload, and hopefully can face the Phoenix in the final. And just shy of the 15-minute mark, first highlight of this game, it is in favour here of the home team. They must trip over each other there down the left-hand side, but do manage to keep hold of the ball. They try and pump it in behind. Victoros does control it, but then really poor clearance effort from us there, a pass. And now Toure, he gets in behind and will beat Billy Debenham. He scores his 26th goal this season. Musa Toure does a forward roll. He's been on fire this season, it looks like, but that is a really poor start. It's actually the Wayne Train there with a shocking pass, and from there Adelaide can get in behind. To be fair, the marking on Toure not too great either, but not a good start. In our pursuit of the quadruple, we go 1-0 down. And about 10 minutes off the back of that opening goal, we get our next highlight here. Yet again, it's a throw-in though to the home team in the red, the usual home uniform. We can bust out the blue and white during today's episode as well. Good tackle there from Fernandes, but unfortunately, Adelaide United, they keep hold of the ball. Might be in for a strong start here. Might the Reds in front of their fans at Cooper's Stadium. They park here inside about half, but that's a poor pass. Good work there from Michael Cornelius Beale. He makes his way forward. Mercado to the Wayne train. What can he do? Starts to make his way forward, albeit a bit of a loose touch there, but thankfully the clearance, it just finds Curtis. Now Tsukamoto just takes his timer on the ball. Curtis plays that one forward to the Wayne train. Will bang it home. His 23rd goal of the season, thankfully not offside. I don't think there's any VAR here in the Australian Cup, and we grab an equaliser not too long off the back of conceding that opening goal, and is the Wayne train who makes up for that pretty poor pass earlier, which did lead to the first goal, but that is a good finish into the bottom left corner off the ball over the top from Sam Curtis, and that makes it 1-1 here about halfway through the first half. And in fact, very shortly off the back of that equalising goal, now we're down the other end there. Adelaide United try and float that one far post, but thankfully Billy Debenham is there to tidy that one up. Unfortunately, that signing of Alex Paulson does mean he probably won't get much first team football here next season. Alex Paulson, just a little bit better than him. It is fair to say our first choice for the All Whites. An interesting ball there of Undersag gets a foot in, but thankfully not much urgency from Adelaide, so it does go out to Debango. Of course, I say next season, that's not a given. We'll get to that come the end of today's episode, but ball over the top there for the Georgian, and Fernandes squares that wonderfully for Jonathan Mercado. That's only his 9th goal of the season. He's a bit more of a false 9 type of player for us here at AFC Auckland, but this time he will pick up a goal. It's a quick fire double to make it 2-1. Great work here from Jorge Fernandes. Fair to say a player we might have to sell in the off-season transfer window, financial reasons, and also he's playing for Georgia. We'll just also cancel the shout here and praise instead of encourage, but 2 quick fire goals, go 2-1 up. And just as we make our way into 2 minutes of added time here, there's a free kick towards the end of the first half. Fernandes takes that one to Beefy. The Wayne train has actually been doing pretty well with those in some games recently, so maybe should put him on those free kicks, but we do keep possession despite the fact that was a pretty average one. Courtney Perkins shifts this one out to Debango, looking a little bit threatening here down the left-hand side in these last couple of highlights. Fernandes inside the box, back to Debango, finds Fernandes, who manages to stay onside. That's some really good little shadow work there with that run from Fernandes, puts it away, and that's a nice buffer goal right before half-time to make it 3-1. The Georgian continues his good form of play. If we do sell him, it would be a bit of a shame, but unfortunately he's in the mix for that national team, so I do think it means he probably wouldn't play for New Zealand even once he does get his 5 years of residency done. But that's good work there from him and Debango. As you can see, it's a nice little run there, just gets past his man, and from there, one-on-one with the goalkeeper, you back Georgie in that situation, and it's 3-1 here at half-time. Just got off to a little bit of a rough start there through that goal to Toure, but thankfully from then, the Wayne train, Mercado and Fernandes have put their chances away. And to be fair, everyone out there on a pretty good rating, with only 3 subs, don't think we're going to make any just yet, so we'll tell the guys doing well could do a little bit better, and hopefully make sure they hold on to this 3-1 lead. And off the back of an early free kick in the second half to Fernandes, which went well wide, there is now a highlight from the subsequent goal kick to Adelaide United, but they do manage to keep the ball here. They would want a goal nice and early in the second half, otherwise might be in a bit of trouble trying to run us down. It hasn't happened too often this season. We've been pretty good once we do get in front. Just that one exception against, I think it was the Brisbane Roar, before we did play in a cup final, I believe it was, earlier in the week against the Western Sydney Wanderers. That's great work there though from Van der Sar. He makes the Bungo look absolutely silly. Jovanovic puts that one into the mix, so we'll see if this attack amounts to too much. Tiffany will square that one, but thankfully we deal with the danger. Bungo gets saved that blush there. Still 3-1 early in the second half. And right on the hour mark, I think we're going to make our first substitution here because Aiki Tsukamoto has picked up a yellow card. Will play things safe. Nick Baker can come on for him, and Cornelius Beale can move back to that defensive midfield role, which he can cover decently. There's our first sub, and in fact, right off the back of that, before it can go through, there is a highlight here, and it looks like we might get a chance here to launch an attack just inside our half here, but Courtney Perkins all there to Beale. Now Fernandes, nice ball over the top that for the Wayne train, puts that one far post for Mercado, And he will pick up a double. Thought he might have just been offside there, but he does pick up his 10th goal of the season, and that should put a bow on this one. Wrap it up, New Zealand derby in the Australian Cup final, which is all sorts of hilarious, but Fernandez having a field day this time though. The Wayne train will get the assist Mercado with a simple tap-in to make it 4-1.
Yeah.
Albeit shortly off the back of that 4th goal, there is an injury here to Michael Cornelius Beale. That is not ideal. Hopefully he'll be back in time for the final. Not too sure how long it is until that game actually takes place. Just going to see here who can play DM. It's actually Mercado. So we'll bring on Pyun. Wayno up front. Pyun is the right winger, and Mercado is a DM. Bit of an interesting switch here while he's on a hat-trick. But that's our second sub, injury enforced, with 25 minutes left. And in fact, only a few minutes on from that injury enforced sub, now it's time for our last one, Debungo on a red heart, Nathan Lobo, to come on for him. And just made our way into the last 10 minutes of this game. Gauchi takes here a free kick off the back of the Wayne train being offside from a chance. He did put over the bar, but this has been a nice, comfortable second half off the back of a bit of a rough start. Fought back nicely to make it 3-1, and a goal there nice and early in the second half to Mercado to make it 4-1. Good chance there though, but good work there from Gauchi in goal to keep that at 4-1. That definitely should have been 5. A couple of good chances there from that ball played in to the mixer, but it looks like here we are going to hold on for a pretty comfortable 4-1 win over Adelaide United. Pretty similar scoreline what we dished out against them back at Mount Smart in the A-League a couple of games ago. Hopefully that injury to Michael Cornelius Beale not too bad. We'll check on that shortly. But a 4-1 win, a comprehensive one, sets up a New Zealand derby in the Australian Cup final. So a good win for us there, but here's the update on that injury to Michael Cornelius Beale. It's a groin strain. We'll send him to the physio, out for 3 to 4 weeks. Now, I do think there's actually quite a big gap now between the semi-final and the final. We'll go and have a look at the training page, because I think this might bring it up best. 35 days. So if we do that, he should hopefully be back in time for that final. So I think thankfully that's just going to keep him out of those last 2 games of the A-League season. So thankfully Cornelius Beale might be fit for that cup final. We'll come back shortly to play it against the Wellington Phoenix. And we have made our way forward to the day of the Australian Cup final, our chance here to complete our first quadruple with AFC Auckland. And to do it, going to need to keep up our perfect record against the Wellington Phoenix and Giancarlo Italiano. Before then, played our last couple of games of the A-League season, and thankfully did complete an unbeaten season, but scratchy there in a 0-0 draw at the Melbourne Victory. But off the back of that, we finished things off in style with a 3-1 win over Sydney FC. All the goals here in the second half, a double to the Wayne train, an unbeaten season in the A-League. So it does mean we could go unbeaten for the entire season if we can get past the Phoenix in this cup final. There you can see Western United playing Adelaide City in the relegation playoff final, 2-0 up after the first leg. That doesn't look too good there for Adelaide City. Already guaranteed to go down are the Redcliffe Waves and Canberra United. But we won the league by 19 points, and then it was actually Melbourne City who finished second. Central Coast tied on points with Sydney FC, and the Phoenix, they finished in 5th. So it does mean could be some interesting teams there in Asian football next season, considering that 2 of the top 5 are from New Zealand. And in terms of the second division, we'll get this out of the way now and hopefully get a look at the league table itself. There's a relegation playoff. Brisbane City, Manly United, and the Melbourne Knights going down. It's a bit of a surprise to see Brisbane City in there. I'm pretty sure they were up in the A-League last season, but promoted are the Wollongong Wolves, Sydney United, and the Gold Coast Knights. So a couple of new teams will be making their way up to the A-League next season if we can play it with the whole registration bug that I have had since the winter update. But that's what happened in terms of the domestic league seasons. Wollongong, Sydney and Gold Coast coming up, and it's probably going to be Adelaide City going down alongside Redcliffe and Canberra. So some new teams there if we can actually register our players for next season of this save. But unfortunately suffered an injury during those last couple of games. It is to Georgios Victoros. Thankfully Beale is available for this cup final, but a groin strain does mean that Victoros, he is not. Don't worry about that value in that contract, because he is going to be signing a new one right off the back of this game. So he's definitely staying around. Still hasn't been called up for Cyprus, which is surprising. So hopefully he might be an all-white prospect come the end of that new contract that he is about to sign. And also just noticed there for the Wellington Phoenix, Ben Older's out with a broken ankle. That is a big injury for him, 2 to 4 months. So that probably means he'll be missing from the international friendlies I'm about to play in a week or so's time, where I'm going to take on Uzbekistan and Syria, but those are the injury concerns going into this final, as you probably know. We haven't lost to the Phoenix so far in this save. Hopefully that continues, especially seeing as this final is at Mount Smart Stadium. And if we can do that, we'll complete the quadruple. And here are the team sheets for this Australian Cup final. Coming back into the team for this one, Andre Lupu at right wing. Mikado drops down to the bench so an informed Wayne Train can start up front. Also Baker in for Beale, just a little bit risky coming back from injury. And also Linda comes in for the injured Victor Ross. The Phoenix coming to this one in great form with their 4-4-2 and a number of All Whites players, but hopefully we can continue that dominance over them and complete the quadruple. And it hasn't taken long here at all for the first highlight of this final. It is the Phoenix here on the attack early through Sam Sutton, but that poor pass there looking for Sloane Rodriguez. And we get a chance here to hit nice and early. The Wayne Train plays that out to Sam Curtis, the Irish international, another player we might look to let go of because of that fact, but early chance there to Fernandez for a header, goes over the bar, still 0-0. And in fact, very short off the back of that opening highlight, now we're down the other end here for a throw-in to the Phoenix inside the final third. Adam White picks out Sloane Rodriguez, a couple of young All Whites there linking up. Now Sutton, he'll pick out Sloane Rodriguez, tries to curve that one top right corner, thankfully just over the bar. Decent chance now for both teams, but still scoreless. And there's a fair bit going on early in this game now. A free kick still to Fernandez on these, as I said earlier. Probably could be the Wayne Train. That one goes just wide. Lots of early chances, but still 0-0. And a little bit of a break till our next highlight. Just shy of the half-hour mark, there is a free kick in our favour. A long one though. Fernandez tries to put that far post. The Wellington Phoenix can deal with that danger, but Dubungo is there to tidy things up for us on the right-hand side. He starts to sprint across there to the left, kind of makes his way there. Now plays that forward to Nick Baker, in for Cornelius Beale. A little bit risky coming back from that injury that he picked up in the semi-final. But Linda, who's already picked up a yellow card, that's a bit of a concern, but we'll see how he gets through that. Hopefully that won't prove too costly. But at the moment, just trying to make our way here out from the back. Linda finds Curtis. Now Lupu on the ball. His first big game for us here at AFC Auckland. Curtis, that goes into the mixer, looking for Caputo, but squeezes it across for Jorge Fernandez. Continues a really fine into the season here for our Georgian winger. Puts that one past Cordova into the bottom left corner, and that will make it 1-0 nice and early, and hopefully on our way here to completing the quadruple. Good tackle that from Sermon, but unfortunately for him, Caputo still keeps the ball and sets up Fernandez yet again. Going to cancel a shout, which wasn't a praise, off the back of taking a 1-0 lead. And as we make our way into the last 5 minutes of this first half, still 1-0, still on the front foot, but there's a throw in here for the Wellington Phoenix yet again inside the final third. They go looking near far post, not too sure who that would have been for. We headed away to Tim Payne. Paul Jones, nice ball there for Nguyen. Big chance there, far post, thankfully. That one is just off target, and it looks like we'll head into the sheds after 2 minutes of added time with a 1-0 lead. We'll take that in a cup final, and to be fair, I think that's a fair scoreline based on the stats you can see there in the top left corner. Finlander is on that yellow card, but to be fair, with that injury to Victor Ross and only 5 options on the bench, our cover there not too great. So I think we're going to leave him on here for the second half, and hopefully we can pull away, continue our good record against the Knicks, and make it a quadruple as we hold that 1-0 lead. And very early into the second half, there's a throw in here for the Wellington Phoenix. They had a couple of these in the first half, thankfully didn't make them count, but Sermon plays that one over the top. Courtney Perkins heads it away, but the Phoenix do keep hold of the ball in a pretty dangerous area. Now Sloane Rodriguez ball through there and squares it for George McDonald. EIEI goal. Didn't enjoy that one as much as when he plays for the All Whites, but he scores one, does a Nelson lad to make it 1-1, and that's a great start for the Phoenix in this half. Curtis there just doesn't quite pick up on Sloane Rodriguez, neither does Linda, and from there McDonald a tap in. He's far too good to miss those, and it's 1-1 early in the second half. And very shortly off the back of that equalising goal to the Wellington Phoenix, now Aki Tsukamoto's picked up a yellow card. I think we'll make that change we made in the previous game. Michael Cornelius Beale coming back from injury can come on for him. Hopefully have a good game and hopefully help us win this one as it's locked up at 1-1. Also considering Dubungo for Lobo, but considering the sub situation, that might not be a good idea. Might save those subs up for the remaining 40 minutes. And short the fact of that sub of Cornelius Beale coming on for Tsukamoto. Now there's a highlight here. We did have a throw, but unfortunately lose out on the ball quite quickly. The Phoenix staying off the second half quite well. Hopefully we're not going to bottle things here like they've kind of done against us at times in the past, and some good short passing here from the Phoenix. Sam Sutton with a shot. That one takes a big old deflection, I think, off of Sam Curtis, but Billy Debenham with a really good save. Could actually be playing Alex Paulson in these games, seeing as players don't need to be registered for this competition. We're going to stick with the youngster before next season. Thankfully, looks like here we'll deal with the danger from the corner, and we do. Good chance there for the Phoenix to make it 2-1, but it's still 1-1. And lots of action in this cup final. Now we're down the other end here in a really nice position for a free kick to Georgie Fernandez. Tries to put that one top right corner. It's quite close, but unfortunately just high and just wide. Still 1-1 at the hour mark, and Debungo struggling out there now on a 6.4. I think this time going to make that sub Nathan Lobo to come on left back. And now making our way into the last 20 minutes of this game, and it's time for one more sub in this one. And we'll just see who's only going fairly. I think Andre Lupu we might take off here. The Wayne train will put out right, and Mikado did quite well for us in that semi-final. Has been quite good for us so far this season. Maybe should stick with a winning formula. That's our last sub as we start to make our way towards the last 10 minutes of this cup final. I was just thinking there about going attacking, but a highlight starts. We'll see what happens from this one. The Phoenix, they are in possession. Ryan Galbraith, a player on loan from us, is on the ball. He plays a poor pass there to Sam Curtis. That could be controversial if we score from this highlight. Curtis squares it for Max Caputo. Secret agent man Ryan Galbraith, his only game I think he's played against us so far this season, seeing as he only went there halfway through the year. That is a poor pass, and it might be the one that cost the Wellington Phoenix this Australian Cup. Nice finish there from Caputo, but poor giveaway that from Ryan Galbraith, the promising Australian. That makes it 2-1. Off the back of that, time for us to try and time waste so we can hold on and pick up the quadruple. And very short the back of doing that time wasty stuff. Now there's a highlight for us here, a throw-in just inside of the opposition half. That'll be very interesting to see what happens to Ryan Galbraith if that is the winning goal. They'll definitely come back here next season, so it shouldn't hurt him too much. But the Phoenix, they might be going quite hard after him when we play them next season if that is the case. But we keep the ball here down this left-hand side. Fernandez a little bit loose on it, but thankfully that tackle from Conkey, we keep the ball despite that effort. Now Curtis plays that one forward to the Wayne train at right wing for the latter stages of this one. Curtis back to Beale. Some good patient play here considering that we do have that 2-1 lead. Baker forward to Curtis, finds himself just in behind the Phoenix defence. Not for too long, but plays that back to Baker. Good chance there to put that one away top right corner, but it goes just over the bar. And now we make our way into the final 5 minutes of this game. And a late free kick here to Fernandez. Can he put this one away and give us a late cushion goal? He's taking his time over this one. Should be looking for that top right corner. It's a big build-up, so hopefully something is going to happen here. He takes it short, picks out Nathan Lobo, who puts it home bottom right corner. Only his third goal this season. A player currently wanted by the Wellington Phoenix for next season. We'll see if we sell or not. Might depend on the size of the bid they put in, but that is a very nice short free kick routine. Had to be a good one considering how long we waited for it. That makes it 3-1, and that should do it as we make our way into 5 minutes of added time, but no highlights so far. And I think yet again, we're going to beat the Phoenix, and that completes a perfect season here at AFC Auckland. I say perfect, a couple of draws in there, so not quite, but in terms of trophies, it is a perfect one. We started off with the APL Cup over Adelaide United, then picked up the Australian League Cup in the final over the Western Sydney Wanderers, cruised our way to the A-League this season, not losing a game, and now we beat the Wellington Phoenix in a New Zealand derby to lift our second Australian Cup of the save. There's the celebrations. Off go the fireworks at Mount Smart Stadium. So we have completed the quadruple here in the 4th season of this save at AFC Auckland. A couple of news items while we do wait for the end of season review. First up, the All-Star team for the Australian Cup. You can see there Nathan Lobo, Finn Linder, Callan Elliott, Nick Baker, Pyum de Hotman de Villiers, and Ben Wayne. Quite a few rotation players there. That shows that we did put out those players quite a bit for these cup games. Also George McDonald just cleaning up things in the A-League Player of the Year as well as the Golden Boot. Unfortunately, none of our players actually made their way into the top 3, probably because I was debating at times this season whether Mikado or Ben Wayne was a better striking option. Caruso, Young Player of the Year, that's unsurprising. Actually surprised he's still there at Melbourne City with the interest and the clubs who are after him. The same could be said too of George McDonald. Unfortunately, Nicholas Goalkeeper of the Year. The fact we sold Paulson halfway through probably didn't help our goalkeeper's chances of picking up that award, but we do get the Manager of the Season. And also here is the Team of the Season for the A-League. It's pretty much dominated by us, as you'd expect, considering we were unbeaten. Our back four, which we picked for most of the season, also Sukamoto in there, and our wingers, Mfernadze and Ronaldo, despite the fact that he wasn't here for the last couple of months of the season, but good domination there from us this season as we go unbeaten and pick up the quadruple. And going forward, only a few clicks from those end of season awards for both the A-League and the Australian Cup. We do have our budget for next season here at AFC Auckland. We don't have one. Transfer budget of no pounds. That's not surprising, albeit that was guaranteed to be £200,000. So I feel a bit ripped off. And the wage budget, £55,000. So it does mean if we want to bring some players in, it's going to have to be on free transfers with the wage budget as well. We're actually already over that. We're going to need to sell before we can buy. And just before I make my way forward to the friendlies that I'm about to play against those teams over in Asia, we do have here the end-of-season review for the 4th season of the save with AFC Auckland, a quadruple winning season. This should be quite a fun one to make our way through. Going forward to the signings, and the signing of the season on a free, Cameron Pew Pew, he picked up a 7.43 average rating, 14 starts, 14 appearances off the bench, definitely a squad player for us, but 8 goals and 12 assists. He gets player of the season. Also, we will mention Sam Curtis, 15 assists. I believe that is a new club record. We'll see if he's still here next season, seeing as Ireland, they called him up just after we signed him. Also, Finlander actually with a pretty good average rating for his first season here at the club, albeit the board not too happy with the finances, which is interesting. Also, Ike Sukamoto, Jonathan Mikado, and Lupu were decent. And Alex Paulson we technically signed, but also that I thought was quite a good bit of business, considering transfers out. We sold him to Dallas for £245,000 before they released him for nothing. Silly MLS, it actually doesn't even pop up here on the outs. That's how dumb it was. We sold Ronaldo for big money when the club was in trouble, about to go into administration. Also, Pascali did quite well over at Sydney FC, but thankfully didn't prove too costly with our good DLP youngsters in Cornelius Beale and Nick Baker. Also departing with Stefan Mount, Michael Vood, Gweveen Tormeen, Chris Wood on a free. That one's a little bit sour because now he is not going to play for the All Whites anymore because he is retiring. Lucas Nunez, Don Willis, a youngster, Stefan Negro, a couple more youngsters, and Adam Mitchell actually ended up at Western Suburbs after we released him on a free. So those are the players that we did let go, and also a couple out on loan, including Ryan Galbraith, who it's fair to say had a bit of an impact in that cup final that we did just play against the Wellington Phoenix. Going forward to the season results, also those top 3 probably players that will be a bit more involved here next season if we can play next season. Going for the results, these are all good, as I said, unbeaten season, so don't need to worry about this too much. A couple of frustrating draws in there, but it's all going to look pretty good when you don't lose a game. Going over the Australian Cup, one that in the beefy, the scorelines throughout that competition were pretty comfortably in our favour the whole way through, apart from that one game there in January against Sydney United. The League Cup, this was a bit closer, but got the job done over the Western Sydney Wanderers. And then the APL Cup, fairly comfortable winning that at the start of the season as well. 3-1 over Adelaide United. That is how we did pick up the quadruple. Moments to remember, our biggest win was in a cup game against a team. I'm still not sure what that means, QUTFC, but the Ben Wayne hat-trick helped us on our way to a 7-0 win. The match to remember, very early on, a 3-0 win away from home over Western Sydney Wanderers, our closest challengers to the A-League title last season. And goal of the season came in a League Cup win over the Gold Coast Knights, a team up in the A-League next season, and it was scored by Jonathan Mikado. And here is that goal to be fair. It was a really big one, this one, because we went 2-0 down early, scored 2 just before this one happened, and Mikado with a long-range screamer. That one gets some help from the underside of the crossbar. That was a very good goal. Definitely think that deserves the goal of the season. A couple of recent ones in this save have been a bit debatable. I think that one justifiably so, especially considering the start we did have in that game. Thankfully, turned it around and did go on to win that League Cup. Going for the finances, to be fair, everything here has actually gone up, so it's a bit surprising why the club finances are quite as bad as they are. The reputation, still 2.5 stars. I think that's just going to be a constant throughout the rest of the save, with no Asian Confederation or Club World Cup type football. The top shirt sellers, though, were Fernadze, Wayne, Keith Curtis, and Caputo. Going forward to how we lined up this makes sense for the most part. Debenham in goal, especially after we did sell Alex Paulson. The back four the same as from that A-League team this season. Defensive midfield, Baker instead of Beale alongside Tsukamoto. Bit of a surprise. And also Justin Keaton the cam role over Max Caputo. Ronaldo out right, even though we sold him, but Bernardes and the Wayne train gets that starting spot up front over Jonathan Mercado in his first season at the club. And going forward to the accolades, lots of these, obviously, you saw a couple of them before. We got Manager of the Year, but the Player of the Season and Young Player of the Season, even though he's 24 years old, that feels like quite an old age to pick up Young Player of the Season, but it is Jorge Fernandes. He had a very good season here, especially late on after the sale of Ronaldo. You saw some of those awards below a little bit earlier. Most assists was Sam Kerrs with 15. As we said, that's a club record for a player in a season. The most goals was Fernandes with 25, albeit the Wayne train also picked up 25, which is apparently the most overall goals by a player in the season. Most of his did come in cup competitions. Most player of the matches went to Sam Kerrs with 8, and the highest average rating, obviously, Fernandes. That's why he's picked up the Player of the Season competition awards. Ben Wayne actually picked up earlier this year the Oceania Footballer of the Year. Bit surprised by that, considering that also included Chris Wood's work here last season. So that did seem a little bit weird, but he picked up that award like he was doing quite regularly during our Wayne train save earlier this season. Also, Sam Kerrs with the most Player of the Match awards in the season with those 8. Worst discipline, Tsukamoto. Most league appearances by a player here now is Cullen Elliott with 102, the first centurion here at AFC Auckland. The highest transfer fee received for Ronaldo of 1.2 million, and the youngest goal scorer is no longer my son, which is a bit of a shame, but Michael Cornelius Beale, pretty good player. I think that's a nice player to have as the youngest goal scorer here at AFC Auckland. There's a little blurb about how we won the title. We went unbeaten. So yeah, that was probably the reason why, but we did pick up the quadruple. And going forward to seeing what's been added to the manager timeline, Chris Wood there last season, that's kind of where we left things. Then we get something from the World Cup, that late 3-2 win over Poland, which did see us go through to the second round of that competition. It's definitely something which is worth including from our time at the FIFA World Cup with the All Whites. Signing of the season last season did go to Chris Wood. Joel Nolan was the 10th player to come through our youth intake to debut for AFC Auckland in a competitive game. We won the APL Cup, the League Cup, and then went forward and won the A-League. A done deal as we got Alex Paulson back to the club after we sold him for actual money. Record points haul in the A-League, as you'd expect, considering we went unbeaten with 76 points. And also that win over the Phoenix in that Australian Cup final was our 200th game in charge. So a nice way to mark that occasion. And also we got Manager of the Year and went through undefeated in this 4th season of the save. And going down to have a look at the overall best 11 here at AFC Auckland, Max Caputo, Hotman de Villiers, and Billy Debenham make their way into the squad, albeit they are all on the bench. So these days, Paulson in goal, a back four of Debungo, Courtney Perkins, Victor Ross and Elliott, just like we've got here at the club currently. Atema and Pascali in the defensive midfield, and the front four are Fernandes, Malc Ronaldo, and Ben Wayne is up front. I think last season Chris Wood was there. The Wayne train does now have that starting spot all on his own, but that will do it for the 4th season of the save. A very good one. Went unbeaten with AFC Auckland, picked up a quadruple, and that was off the back of making the second round of the FIFA World Cup and our first crack at it with the All Whites. Before we wrap things up for today, we're going to talk about next season, because I'm honestly not too sure what we're coming back for in tomorrow's episode because of the whole registration bug we do have here currently since that winter update did come out. If you're wondering what I'm on about, no players have their homegrown status. And that means that when we try and register new players, we can't do 10 who are trained in Australia because no one's listed as being trained in Australia. So I'm going to go through and do the transfer window and just see if that bug fixes itself, or maybe even if I can do something with the in-game editor. If I can, we'll still stay here at AFC Auckland. Otherwise, what we might have to do here is resign from AFC Auckland. Be fair, just won the quadruple and gone unbeaten. So we've kind of done all we can here anyway, even though it might mean some of those players who are foreigners might get sold by the AI so they don't become New Zealanders, which would be a bit of a bummer. But I have just checked on the New Zealand National League. And as far as I can tell, we'll look at the rules for this, but I'm pretty sure you don't need to register players, so that could be quite good with this bug that is in the game. The only other rule is that in terms of foreign players, I'll just find it, can't have more than 5 players in your squad, and you must have at least 2 players under 20. So that could be something that we do to keep the save going if AFC Auckland becomes a bit too tricky with the registration side of things, even if I do buy that in-game editor and see if that works. I'm hoping it will, but the one benefit of doing this National League 1, lots more bus trips that we can do around the grounds of New Zealand, and also once we find a club to go to and build up, hopefully we can go to one that's not one of the big ones, because then we can make sure that the league is a bit stronger than it otherwise would be. But I think then we can do stuff like the AFC Champions League and potentially also the FIFA Club World Cups that could actually make the save a bit more interesting on the club side of things. By now I've already probably posted something on the community page just to see if that's something you guys are okay with, if this bug does continue with the A-League team. So because of that bug, I'm not really too sure what's going to happen in tomorrow's episode. I'll get through the transfer window and just go through it like I'm going to be staying at AFC Auckland. But if I can't fix the registration problem, I dare say, come the start of next week, we might be on a job hunt and trying to find a job down here in the National League. Also, while I'm here, I'll just check on the registration requirements for that AFC Champions League. And while you do need to register players, there, as you can see in the match rules, there are no rules in terms of if they have to be homegrown club or nation. So I think we'd be okay doing OFC stuff if the A-League does become a problem like it is currently. Of course, if the bug does get fixed, we can always then go back to AFC Auckland later in the save, or could mix things up and try and overthrow them with the Wellington Phoenix instead. So as I said, not really too sure what I'm going to be coming back for in tomorrow's episode. It could be a move to a different club, or at least setting that up, or we could just continue with AFC Auckland. Hopefully you guys understand why that's the case. I can't help it. I'm going to try and do my best with that in-game editor if I do need to purchase it, but hopefully it sorts itself out. Otherwise, to keep the save going, might need to go down to the National League. But as I said, it does mean Champions League football, even though just Oceania, but we also might make our way to a FIFA Club World Cup, and that might actually help build up both the league and the reputation of the club a bit more than we can do currently at AFC Auckland. Also, we'll recap this upcoming international window against Uzbekistan and Syria as well. So it could be an interesting episode tomorrow. AFC Auckland transfers, and we'll see if that bug sorts itself out or if we need to go down to the New Zealand National League. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.